Welcome back, Swarmcast listeners and viewers, for those of you out here watching everything. It's me, John, and I'm back. And in this episode, we have, surprise, surprise, someone we haven't had on a long time. Now, if you were watching last episode, we had this fellow on last time. So welcome back to the Swarmcast, Ed Jowett from Shades of Vengeance. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me back again already. I'm amazed you're not sick of me yet, but hello everybody. Thank you. I'm back again. I am insatiable.
So, probably the main reason we have you back right now is because, surprise, surprise, Ed's got something on Kickstarter, but this is a little different from last time. So why don't you tell us, Ed, what do you have going on Kickstarter right now?
So, what I've got going on right now is a project called the Era Zone, and in order to understand the story that I'm going to be telling you throughout this podcast, I need to take you back to 2019. And in 2019, Kickstarter was publishing a lot of creative prompts, as they call them. What that means is run a Kickstarter themed like this within this period of time, and we'll have a themed thing and like a section where these projects can be. Now, I am terrible at marketing. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but I do know a good idea when I see one. Well, one that's likely to be good for me anyway. So I thought, right, okay, fine. And I did Make 100 in January.
Okay.
And I have done every year since, in fact. And then I did this in February. This is called Zine Quest. And the idea is that you make an RPG zine, like you used to get back in the 80s.
Right.
Sort of a thing that's just, it adds to an RPG in some way. And in 2019, I thought, right, well, I know what I can do. I can do extra material for all of the Era games. That'll be a really interesting and unique thing, because how many games have 5 or 6 different I think probably I was on 8 by then. 8 games that run on the rule set. Why not, have something that goes, okay, so if you've got this game, you get this kind of thing. If you've got this game, you get this kind of thing, and put all that in a zine. Now, I ran the Era Zone in that way for several years. I think I did offhand, I want to say it was 3 sets. 3 sets of zines throughout the year for years. And then suddenly they changed it so that Zine Quest was in August. Now that was quite inconvenient for me for various reasons. It was just moved around, and I wasn't able to run anything for that Zine Quest. But I came back the year after when they put it back in February. Literally the next year when they put it back in February. And I decided that it would be a bit of fun to, instead of provide material for the games, to give you a game. Now, the Era D10 Fundamentals project had already been completed at that point, and I'm just going to grab that as a quick visual aid. This little booklet here gives you the basics of the rules with no setting information or like game specific rules. It's just like the core paradigm, the fundamentals, if you will, of the rule set. So I thought, well, normally a pocket rulebook might be 40, even 50 pages. But these 30 odd pages cover a lot of what I would normally cover in the pocket rulebook. It's all of the rules, statuses, all the rest of it. So all I really need to do is go, okay, well, here is the stuff that isn't in the fundamentals rulebook, and make an Era Zone issue, which I did. In fact, I've got them all. I've got the Era Zone all up here. They enjoy Pride of Place, and I'll pull down Era Friction, which eventually became a eventually became a full rulebook, pocket rulebook. But I basically went through, and what I did was include only the bits that you would need to run the game, and then refer to when you get to the stats and such, refer to the fundamentals rulebook for them. So that gives me the ability to deliver a prototype of a game, pretty
Hmm.
quick, dirty, but the game as I intend it to be. In this case, it's I don't believe that 10 pages.
Oh wow,
Believe that
wow.
10 pages, 12 including the cover, but 10 pages, and that is something that you can do as a zine that was only supported by this was funded on Kickstarter by a lot of very very lovely individuals. Um, and yeah, I just thought that's a really fun idea. I can play with some very non-serious ideas around games that may or may not ever come to life, but it's just like, oh, I know I could do this. I want to do this. That sounds like fun. So the Era Zone became my playground, right? And when I did that, I did Era Dragon Song, which is my at the time was my long-awaited fantasy game. That's now been published. I did Era Bloodlines, which I'm gonna explain the origin of in a moment, which is like an urban fantasy, sort of Buffy or supernatural or grim kind of thing. And then I did Era Friction, which is an action hero flick. Now, one of the things that I've offered both times I've now done this. So this was a year ago or a couple of years ago now. 2024? No, yeah. It says so here. For I thought I'd do one for this year again. I've got loads of cool ideas, and one of the things that I offer on this campaign is the ability to pledge for a certain amount of money, and I will make a prototype for the thing that you want to play in the Era D10 rule set. So Era Bloodlines was exactly that. Someone pledged that on that tier and said I would like to have urban fantasy. He specifically mentioned grim. I went a little further and sort of integrated that sort of Buffy and supernatural feel into it as well because I thought that'd be a bit of fun.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
Broadly, he was very happy with what I delivered. I know the guy. He's actually run it at a convention, Bloodlines, where I was present. I wasn't able to play, but I supported him in building characters and having characters ready and so on.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool.
So this time round, I started with Era Soul Mist, which was the first
Hmm.
goal. I've talked about Era Soul Mist many, many times. I don't remember if I spoke to you about it actually, John. Era Soul Mist is a Dark Souls game. Uh,
Yes, you did mention that on the last episode, but that's fine.
yeah,
Give us a refresh.
I'm still working on the real thing. So the idea is to. I love Dark Souls. I've been a fan of Dark Souls for a very long time,
Hmm.
and the idea is to capture the feel of Dark Souls, not just do it with a D20 rule set that doesn't really make it feel like Dark Souls and claim that it's using the lore and therefore I want to actually capture the feel of Dark Souls. I want you at your table to feel much closer to what it feels like playing the game. Am I going to dodge? Am I going to attack? Am I going to use a spell? Am I going to, drink my Estus flask? Whatever it is that you need to do in a turn, and a turn should take a very small number of seconds. Now, I've been playing quite a lot with some rules around this and doing some playtests, and I'm very happy with what I've come up with, but it is still a prototype. It's not the finished game. It's not going to be absolutely everything you would get in the rulebook. But if you're a Dark Souls fan and you want to actually see what a genuine Dark Souls fan who has played and platinumed every Dark Souls game, plus Bloodborne, plus Demon Souls, plus Elden Ring and whatever, I
Right.
love that, and I take my gaming very seriously. And when I say that I feel like it's about as close as you can get in a tabletop role playing game to that actual feeling, I really do mean it. And I've worked hard on making that happen. You've got a stamina bar, which means you can't just keep acting forever. You've got, a fast paced combat. You're not, it's not 30 seconds per turn, it's 5 to 10 seconds per turn. It's quite
Huh.
it's quite an interesting, different way of looking at combat. I've completely overhauled what most of us take for granted as the combat rules. The basic precepts of combat in RPGs. Whether you run a multiple D10 dice pool system like me, whether you run D&D, most role-playing games combat in the same way. You attack, you roll to attack, you roll for your damage,
Right.
you did an amount of damage, moving on with our lives to the next turn now. I've completely overhauled that and revisited it from scratch. Instead,
Hmm.
instead what you do is you roll for your attack at the beginning of combat, and then you play a token on your stamina bar. You have a number of tokens up to your stamina bar. Um,
Okay.
you play a token. You go, I attack, I dodge, I attack, whatever. Right now, the enemies also have a fixed pattern that they act in. So they'll attack, do a big AOE, then they'll heal themselves, and then they'll attack, and then they'll attack, and then they'll heal themselves, and then they'll dodge. And you'll just have this sequence of what they do. And as a player, you're working out that pattern so that you can
Okay. Okay.
kind of enemy more easily in the future, which is very Dark Souls. I'm sure you'll agree.
Oh,
That's really
yeah. Yeah.
the game. It's all about learning and getting it wrong sometimes, screwing up to the degree maybe you die, but then you've learned how to beat these bad guys. So the next time it's easy. So I rather than necessarily trying to reverse engineer the rules of Dark Souls, what I've done is
Hmm.
what does it taste like, and how do I deliver that?
Oh, that's cool. That's very, very cool. I like that.
So I did that. I decided that was going to be my first funded goal, which we're way past. Um,
Hmm.
I've also had two people ask for custom prototypes. Now I don't know what they're going to say yet, but one is actually a friend, and he indicated to me he was very interested in a monster catcher, like a Pokemon kind of thing. And I thought about it. And he's a really nice guy. What he said is, Ed, I'm thinking of this. Would that be something you could actually deliver? Thank you for asking. No, I appreciated that. It was very generous of him to ask that question because a lot of people wouldn't bother. And I said, you know what? I really think I can. I think I can deliver this. I've got some ideas about how I would do it. Yeah, I think I probably can. Yeah, I'd love to have a go at it if that's the thing that you decide you want. So we'll see. He might choose that. He might not. I don't know yet. But I'm very interested to find out what it is that he wants. And the other individual who has requested a custom issue, I barely know. This is going to be really interesting because this is going to be.
Huh.
I have no idea what I'm going to get asked for. But that's
Hmm.
like I said. In a way, this is my playground. It's sort of like how far can someone push me, and can I actually deliver, even when I really don't know what it is I'm going to be asked for in advance? Because I find that a really interesting challenge. So yeah, I probably ought to mention that we are. I've mentioned that we're funded, but what I haven't mentioned is that we're pretty close to our first stretch goal.
Okay.
I actually pushed it back very slightly because of two people pledging the rather large amount for a custom prototype.
Right.
I felt unfair on me having to deliver another book on top of that because their stretch goal by pledging for the custom. So I pushed it back a little bit, but we are not very far away from Era Tide. Now, Era Tide is an idea I had at Christmas. Um,
Okay.
in fact, I saw the trailer for the movie Red One.
Yep. I was wondering. I was wondering if that was an inspiration for it,
Watched,
perhaps.
I didn't watch the movie. I only saw the trailer. Right. And I thought, an idea that like there's this world where all of these creatures, these holiday creatures, they're real, right?
Hmm.
I thought that's quite fun. I quite like that. But what if they're all scared that Christmas is getting earlier every year and eventually is going to envelop their holidays, removing them from existence? So the jack-o'-lanterns are obviously super geniuses because they can't walk around, so they must be brilliant. They must be very, very fun. And they basically turned the snowmen by promising them that they won't have to go, like they won't melt because they'll like get to go to Antarctica or something. The snowmen are dumb enough to believe them and attack. And actually, this image on the Kickstarter for Era Crueltide, right below there is an elf who's like huddling behind like a little snowdrift, and he's like huddling,
Hmm.
trying to hide from this snowman who's got blood all over his face from eating the other elf. You know, the headless horseman is working obviously with the jack o' lanterns. Um,
Okay, right.
obviously, they even managed to turn the Easter Bunny, a betrayal that hurts more than most. And you play as any kind of creature or human, if you like, and you are infused with holiday magic by Mrs. Claus and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, so that you can properly fight back. And this game contains every single Christmas pun that I could find. I'm not kidding. What there is a spell called "You'll Be Sorry," as in YULE, of course. Uh, there's milking it a bit because
Hmm.
the way the cookie crumbles. Um, many bad puns. Snow joke. Uh, uh, no, sorry, not snow joke. It's snow problem.
It's no problem. Okay.
Because the whole area fills up with snow, and then you're all very
Uh,
so it's a snow problem. Basically, any pun. I surfed the internet looking for puns. Do people say surf the internet anymore? I don't even know if they say that anymore. Am I dating myself? Uh,
I think they still. I don't
do they? I have no idea. Anyway, I searched the internet high and low for puns about Christmas
know.
and used absolutely all of them that I could for making spells that you can use. And I put this thing together and I just thought I'm gonna run this as a Christmas session for people on my Discord server. So I did, absolutely loved it. From meeting the leprechauns who were scared of St. Patrick's Day being ended, um, to to meeting the good jack o' lantern called Jack. He's a good jack o' lantern. He's friendly,
Okay.
nice.
Okay.
He wants all this to happen because he can see the folly of stopping Christmas. I mean, it could stop everything. So, they absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. I thought, right, this is something that I can do as a prototype for anyone who's still feeling a bit Christmassy, or even if you just want to have Christmas in July, right? Um,
Yeah.
why not? And then maybe if people like it, I'll publish it at the end of the year. By the time I came up with it, there was going to be no time to publish it by Christmas anyway, and there's no real point in publishing it in January. I don't think that's gonna work for people. So if people like it from the prototype, I might look at publishing it at the end.
Okay. I could see it being a holiday favorite at the very least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed running that game. Santa Claus is being kidnapped by the snowman.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's great.
I was just going for utter ridiculousness. Um, and then we've got some more stretch goals. We've got Era Kumite. Um, I'm a big fan of 90s action movies, and that means that
I
I
was gonna say.
Bloodsport, The Quest.
Right. Right.
They're both good fun. They're both good fun. Very silly movies, but good fun. And what I thought was, right, well, the meathead who's in the arena
Hmm.
will not be like the only playable character here. What if what we do is we have the looking at the quest, we have the Roger Moore type character who's like the he's not a trainer or anything. He's just kind of the guy with the gift of the gab, and he's doing his own thing. He might be, in the quest, obviously, he's trying to steal the golden dragon, but he might be going around and trying to psych out people because you're convince them that you're that awesome and you're that scary, so they should be really careful and try and gain you an advantage. And then you've got the trainer who sort of keeps the fighter on track. The older guy who's not actually a fighter and so on. And I just felt like this is something where you could easily come up. My fourth obvious trope was the guy who makes sure the rules are followed. The guy who deals with the blow dart at the side that's going to give you tranquilizer, or blood sport with the tablet of stuff
Oh,
and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
You're trying to spot that and stop the cheating happening that will inevitably happen. And yeah, I just thought that would be a really big giggle to do like a silly tournament. Where everyone fights with the most cliche possible martial arts style from their country of origin. Um, I just thought it'd be a lot of fun, and that's the idea behind Era Kumite. It was just like I can do this. This'll be ridiculous. I love it. I'm doing it. And so that was offered as a prototype, and then we've got Era Biopunk. Now, Era Biopunk is it's a concept that my friend Leo came up with during COVID. He wanted to make a role playing game, and I
Hmm.
support him in that. He wanted to do it on the Era D10 rule set because that's what he likes to run. So awesome. And he wanted to do a Cold War biopunk thing. So you play as a character called a pillar who has technology in their head, but also like a lot of organic wiring, so that they can control another character, right? So there are pillars who are the first class citizens, and then there are these bred bodies that have some sentience, or well, actually, we were talking about this yesterday. I think that they have a standard personality imprinted on them, and then like they'll adapt as they grow. They're grown, fully grown, and then a standard personality is stamped on them, and then over time, as they experience life, they'll grow in slightly different directions.
Okay, okay.
And you control these subsids, and there are 12 different kinds of subsids. So loads and loads of different things, and they're all built for different things. So there are ones which are like living Wolverine weapons. They'll go in the center of a crowd, go nuts, and just kill everything in sight until they're stopped. There are ones that can turn their
Okay.
hands into guns. There are ones that can like squeeze and fit through gaps and so on and so on and so on. The idea is that both sides in this Cold War have these subsids inside their base, and you like hack a subsid in the other base in order to do things that will hurt the other side, basically.
Huh. Okay.
So
That's an interesting concept. Yeah.
and I've got some really cool mechanics in mind about having like a main character and then a subsidiary character that can change. So I've got some cool mechanics in mind for that because your subsids, as a pillar, you would probably view subsids as fairly expendable. Like you'll
Hmm.
replace them. You might get attached to one subsid, which would be quite an interesting thing to roleplay. But ultimately, they're replaceable. So yeah, I mean, you've got this thing where you're trying not to die because you're a player, but at the same time, it's sort of accepted that you might be sent on a suicide mission, and that won't
Hmm.
you really die, but it might mean that the subsid you really like and you've leveled up for ages dies. So you get the dying without the really really negative. Oh, I've got to re-roll my entire character. You're still who you were, but you come back, or you possess a new subset. So then you might have to work that one up from scratch again.
Huh. Interesting.
It's a really fun idea, and I've I've worked with Leo, and I've thrown in a bit of world building to fill in some of the gaps, and I've thrown a little bit of sort of the Eclipse phase flavor. I love Eclipse phase. It's one of my favorite games.
I I was just thinking this reminds me of Eclipse Phase. Yep. Yep.
It should, and it's supposed to. You know, it's there's sort of there's a shout out to Eclipse phase, I guess,
Okay.
as part of this game, which is yeah, this whole your body doesn't matter.
Right. Right. I'm
But
I'm always a little reluctant when I'm talking to somebody about their game to say this reminds me of this game because you never know how they're going to take that.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it's sort of I had such a good experience playing Eclipse phase for the most
Mhm.
part. There are definitely some flaws I could draw in that game. Hacking,
Yeah.
hacking. Uh,
Yeah.
we ran screaming from hacking as soon as we tried the hacking rule one time. And it's a freaking cyberpunk game. You're supposed to hack things. Uh,
hmm
but I had a really good time with the concept and being able to bring that concept into the Era universe and that whole thing of, you know, you can have a body that's fit for this purpose. I think that's a really cool thing.
That is. That is. That'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Because yeah, in the era system, that'll add an element that's not already there. So yeah,
Yeah,
that'll be neat.
something brand new that it
Yeah.
does bring to, you know, like Era Soulmist, it's a complete
hmm
think of what it's like to play the game, and that's really interesting to me. You know, I've been doing this a long time now. I don't
hmm
churn out the same thing over and over and over again. You know, which would be an easy thing to resort to. You know, it'd be very easy to go, well, you know, I've made the rule set, and now I can do a fantasy thing, and now I can do a superhero thing, and why am I listing the games I've actually made? This is a really bad idea. Um, but you know, I could go right. I'm going to do steampunk. I'm going to do Victoriana. I'm going to do a near future modern. I'm going to do, you know, and I could do that. I could,
hmm
but I think it's much more valuable for me as a creator, for fans of the game, to have something that goes right. That thing I did, it's not going to be completely unrecognizable compared to that, but here is something that you've not seen. Here is something that's new, that's unique to this, that you've never seen before.
hmm
That's a really valuable thing to bring into a a universe of games where it's 18 games already. Right?
Wow.
It feels to me like it's a really nice thing to bring in something different, something unique, something you haven't seen before. Because I could just sit here and make expansions for existing games and do nothing else. Don't get me wrong, I think supporting existing games is really important. Expansions can be really fun. I've just run a 10th
hmm
anniversary Kickstarter, as you know,
Yeah.
which you know it did provide expansions for Era the Consortium. But that's not all I want to do. I want to do more. I want to explore new things. Era Lost Legend was so much fun because I threw away what the leveling system has been for Era D10 forever. And I went, no, 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 it's not even going to work even vaguely like that. You are not even going to recognize this leveling system. It's going to be a completely different experience. And it's going to have everything that you would expect from Final Fantasy, including the bad bits, including the bits that make you want to go, oh, well, maybe I should just grind for a bit, right? Because that's part of the flavor of Final Fantasy, just as combat being quick and dangerous and you might die is a flavor of Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. Yeah.
And it will be an Era Psalmist.
Wow. Well, this is very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing um, how the Arizona prototype for 2025 shakes out. And it's definitely, especially since talking with you last time about, um, oh gosh, Shark Ninja.
Short
Especially after talking to you about that last time, it makes me really look forward to seeing what's going to come out in future years and from other things as well. Um,
it's really great like just on the subject of biopunk, it's really great,
uh-huh.
and shock ninja to a degree, it's really great to have another mind on the problem. How far can I push this?
Okay.
How weird a concept can I come up with that still works, says someone other than me. And
Okay.
like, Ed, can you make this work? It's one of the reasons that I'm really looking forward to finding out what these custom prototypes are going to be. I won't lie, I watched the whole of Grimm to get Bloodlines sorted out, and I didn't like it very much. I didn't think it was very good. I was particularly disappointed in the ending, because any ending where can I spoiler a show that's like 10 years old now?
I think it's fine to go and spoil
Um,
it.
so in the second to last episode of Grimm, everyone gets killed apart from the main character.
Hmm.
In the last episode of Grimm, they're all brought back to life.
Yeah.
It makes me want to stab things from a sword. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of those series. Yeah. To diverge a little bit, there's a lot of those series where the series is good, but the ending's kind of eh.
I mean, the first couple of episodes of Grimm were really promising, and then it's
Yeah, I agree. I think we kind of stopped watching Grimm after 2 or 3 seasons before we could finally get back into picking it back up again ourselves. So
watched all four. I watched all four.
okay,
It felt like if someone's going to quote a specific thing at me that they want the game to do, I need to know what that thing is. It's only fair, you know.
makes sense. That makes sense. Well,
Fortunately,
very cool.
Pokemon, so I'm not going to struggle with that.
Pokemon's, that's that's everywhere. So if you can't figure anything out about Pokemon, then you must be hiding under a rock or something. I think.
Well, yeah. Also, if you're a certain generation, then yeah, you grew up playing it anyway. So
Yes, yes, pretty much. Oh my gosh. Well, Ed, thanks for coming on to talk with us about the Era Zone and just, I guess, Era in general, but in particular, viewers, listeners, I need you to go out there, check out the Era Zone Prototype TTRPG Zine Quest that's going on right now. Um, Ed, where else can our listeners and viewers find you guys?
I believe I gave you the full set of links last time. Um,
Yes.
I will quickly say Facebook, facebook.com/Shades of Vengeance, Twitter, sort of. I mean, you can probably
Mhm.
get hold of me if you message me. Shades _of _venge, because Twitter has a one character fewer. Yeah, it's just one of the many things about Twitter I don't like. Instagram, we're Shades of Vengeance, or one word. Um, you can find us online at shadesofvengeance.com or era-games.com. And you can find us on Discord on a link that I'm not going to read out, but I'm sure John will very kindly leave below.
Yeah. Yep. We'll put that link up there.
You can join us on Discord to try out various games. In fact, I am intending to run a prototype of, well, a practice, a playtest of Soul Mist in the very near future. So if you're a big
Oh,
dog fan and you hear that, definitely worth joining the Discord and asking if you can join.
okay. Very cool. So again, thanks Ed for coming on. This Kickstarter, if I'm looking at my notes correctly, is going to finish up. If
March
you're
the 16th.
March 16th, which for those of you who know me, that's the last day of my convention, Scarab Gaming Convention in
Oh,
Columbia, South Carolina.
fantastic.
So it's right around the middle of the day of that last day of that convention is when the Kickstarter for this particular one is going to end. So if you see me there at the convention, which you probably will, I'll probably tell you go check it out. Check out Ed's Kickstarter.
Very much.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Ed, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon enough.
I'm sure you can't get rid of me. Thank you, John, listeners, for listening to ramble again about my games.
Well, don't you know, yeah. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. That's the end of the Swancast show. If you like it, you know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe, and that bell too. Haha, yeah. That's what to do. Check us out on the Blue Sky. Yeah, and the Facebook too. Haha, yeah. Just rocking out with you. Yeah. What the? Oh, I guess that's it now. Mwah.